Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Nick Cage Fight podcast, where sometimes we review a Nick Cage movie that's just about a bunch of weird little freaks running around doing stuff with very vague and inscrutable motivations. I'm one of your hosts, Josh, joined as always by Rich and Ryan. How are we feeling, guys? Although I could probably skip Ryan on this one because we're watching a David Lynch film, so we know how he's doing, which
I'm
is
wearing my snakeskin jacket. It represents my individuality and belief in personal freedoms.
I love that. I wish they made it a bigger bit in the film.
There's
I
a
was
few
ready
deleted
for it to
scenes where it
happen.
shows up again. In fact, I could. All right, well, I'll talk about that like
Yeah.
probably in the second
Yeah.
episode when I do
Rich,
a
how are you
rundown of all
doing?
the deleted shit.
I mean, after hearing Nick Cage sing, I'm kind of feeling that I would have loved to see him as Javert in the Les Mis movie. It would have made it infinitely better.
I was very happy to find he did all his own singing.
I know, dude can sing.
Dude
Also,
can really
Rich,
sing.
I gotta penalize you for that one. The right answer of what you wanted to see him in was in the Elvis biopic.
Well, I mean,
The
clearly
one
that's
where
low hanging
Kurt
fruit.
Russell
But
plays Elvis and it's directed by John Carpenter.
That would have been a good one too.
But no, I think that the Javert suicide scene would have been absolutely fucking bonkers if it was Nick Cage.
That's a fair assessment.
Yeah, instead of Russell Crowe, like get him out of here. Give me some Cage.
So we are here today to talk about Wild at Heart, a 1990 film. It was rated R and clocks in at 2 hours and 5 minutes. But apparently, as Ryan just informed us before we started recording, has another like hour and 15 minutes worth of deleted scenes.
Including one I'm pissed they cut because it has one of my favorite musicians. Mark Sandman shows up to play part of one song from Treat Her Right in a scene where Lula is gonna go pick up Sailor from prison. Criminal.
What are you gonna do? Cutting room floor, man.
Well, I'm gonna suplex David Lynch if I ever see him.
All right, so let's hop into housekeeping because this movie is kind of a whopper to try and wrap your head around. I'm sure this is going to come as a shock to anybody who's completely unfamiliar with David Lynch, which ironically enough, first up, director David Lynch, known for, a couple of things, including Twin Peaks, Mulholland Drive, Eraserhead, the first Dune movie, and Blue
Not
Velvet.
the first one they attempted. Alejandro Jodorowsky was the first one that was supposed to make one of those, but his ideas were way too wild to actually make it to screen.
Yeah, so they got real conservative with it and went with Lynch,
who was actually planned to be the director for Empire Strikes Back originally. So it actually makes sense for, at the time, a director for that type of thing.
Yeah, I can literally hear all the Star Wars nerds' buttholes clenching at the thought of a Lynch Empire Strikes Back.
God, it would have been weird. Awesome.
You think people are pissed about The Last Jedi, man? That would have, I think there would have been a war. Anyway, so yeah, that's David Lynch. And he's also one of the writers for the film, or the writer of the screenplay. The film is based on a book by Barry Gifford,
who would go on to write the screenplay for Lynch's, in my opinion, best film, Lost Highway.
There you go. I have that in his list of credits. He also wrote American Falls and City of Ghosts, and apparently wrote a video game. I didn't write that one down, but I think maybe it was called Immortal. I wasn't familiar with it.
Interesting. Didn't realize that. Didn't really do a deep dive on
Immortality.
Immortality.
Wait, is that the like FMV game from this past year?
Yes.
The Sam Barlow joint?
Correct.
Shit, I gotta play that now. I heard it was good, but now that I know Barry Gifford's involved, sold.
But yeah, so there you go. Writing and directing covered. So now let's move into the cast. I'm gonna
it does bear noting that Barry Gifford went on to write like 4 more books in the series that this is based off of. So if you're down with Lulu and Sailor, there's more content for you.
Well, the book and the movie ends drastically different, and we'll get to that when we get to it.
They do end very differently, but he does continue the story.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to learn the difference between the book ending and the movie ending, because I did not look into that. So for cast, first up, as always, man of the hour, every hour, Nicolas Cage plays Sailor. And next up, we have Laura Dern as Lula. Laura Dern has been in a number of things you would recognize her from, including Jurassic Park, Blue Velvet, more recently, Marriage Story, and Star Wars The Last Jedi.
And the two I'll throw out because they're both Lynch connections is she was in Inland Empire, which is a David Lynch movie, and she was also in Twin Peaks The Return as Diane and Diane's Tulpa.
Huh. There you go. Next up, we have Willem Dafoe as Bobby Peru. Willem Dafoe has been in a number of films, some that we've covered on this very podcast. But he was in the Spider-Man films, The Lighthouse, The Florida Project, which is an underrated film in my opinion, The Northman, Dog Eat Dog, which again, go check out our episode on that, and the first John Wick film.
He was also in Shadow of the Vampire. If you want to hear us review that, go sign up for our Patreon. Patreon.com/NickCageFight. Boom. Nailed it.
Solid plug. Moving on, we have J.E. Freeman as Santos. J.E. Freeman is recognizable from other such films like Alien Resurrection, Patriot Games, and Miller's Crossing.
Miller's Crossing is the one I recognized him from. He plays Eddie Dane. It's pretty good in that movie.
There you go. Next up, we have Crispin Glover as Cousin Dell. Crispin Glover, recognizable from Back to the Future, the Back to the Future movies, because he was in several of them. Willard, I threw this in just for myself, Friday the 13th Final Chapter, The Doors, What's Eating Gilbert Grape, kind of recognizable individual. Up next, we have Diane Ladd as Marietta Fortune from such films as Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, Chinatown, and Charlie's War.
And I think Laura Dern was also in Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, if I'm not mistaken, as like an uncredited child.
Well, aren't they like actually mother and daughter
they're
too?
Yes, they are. There's actually a funny anecdote about that where Laura Dern's son met David Lynch, and David Lynch said, "Don't watch that movie until you're 30." Not in reference to Laura Dern's performance, but in reference specifically to, and this is a David Lynch quote, "your grandmother's performance."
I get that.
Yeah.
To a certain extent. Although also content warning for Laura Dern's performance also should have been levied. Come on,
Yes,
Lynch.
correct.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Nick Cage may not have been the most unhinged part of this film.
Correct.
Yet no.
Probably Diane Ladd.
The film was the
100%.
most unhinged part of this film. I mean, the individual.
Actually, no, it's Grace Zabriskie. Grace Zabriskie goes fucking off in this.
Yeah. But she's not up quite yet. We have Harry Dean Stanton first as Johnny Farragut. Harry Dean Stanton.
You know him, you love him. He's the only good part of Sonny.
Fave of the pod. He's been in Alien, Repo Man, The Green Mile, Lucky, Twin Peaks, and one of my personal favorites, Alpha Dog. We'll reference it every time I'm given the opportunity. Next up, we have Grace Zabriskie as Juana.
Yes.
Who has been in Inland Empire, Armageddon, The Grudge, Twin Peaks, The Killing, which is a show. I'm just referencing it because I actually
Which
thought it was
references Twin Peaks heavily, actually.
Oh, yeah. Gone in 60 Seconds, the Nick Cage one. So we have a Cage connection there.
Yeah, she plays his mom in that.
And Child's Play too. And last up on my list before Ryan absolutely takes us off the rails in housekeeping is Pruitt Taylor Vince as Buddy. This is really funny because we've had him back to back now. He's been in Identity, Constantine, Jacob's Ladder, Drive Angry, and The Cell, which is another film I'm actually.
The Cell is really good. He's got two that you didn't mention that I'll have to shout out because they're great. Angel Heart, which is a neo-noir occult, like weird fucking dark movie, and Jacob's Ladder, which is about Vietnam PTSD and also a Minotaur.
I did say Jacob's Ladder.
Did you say Jacob's Ladder?
Yes.
I missed Jacob's
It's
Ladder.
It's okay. That one bears repeating. I'm
It
fine
does.
with that
That's
one. If you haven't seen it, you
absolutely
probably should.
tremendous film.
Yeah. And Ryan, the stage is yours. Take it away.
All right, so let's start with Calvin Lockhart. He plays Reggie in this. He's in Predator 2 and a couple of Twin Peaks things, including Fire Walk with Me, the Twin Peaks movie. What else we got? I've got Sherilyn Fenn, who plays Audrey Horne on Twin Peaks. She's the girl in the car crash in this. She's also in the 90s of Mice and Men adaptation and a movie called Boxing Helena, which is fucking insane. That one, I'm not gonna just watch it. I will give no context for that film. Just watch that movie. Next, I've got David Patrick Kelly, who was one of the horns on Twin Peaks, Jerry Horn. He's also one of the scumbags in The Crow. And most famously, he's the guy who puts the Coke bottles on his fingers and goes, Warriors, come out and play. Yay.
Oh.
He's that guy. Next, I've got Jack Nance, who is Henry in Eraserhead. He's Paul in Blue Velvet. He's one of the Harkonnens in the Dune movie. He's fucking in almost every episode of the original run of Twin Peaks. We love Jack's in this house.
Quick thing about Jack Nance. So the reason why I have never seen a Lynch movie outside of this and Eraserhead is I saw Eraserhead when I was 11.
Ooh.
that is too early to see that movie, and it sort of fucked me up, and I was like, I'm not going to watch another David Lynch movie for a while.
That's probably smart. He's also the dad in that Suicidal Tendencies video for Institutionalized.
He wants a Pepsi.
He just wants a Pepsi. And the last one I got is John Lurie. He plays Sparky. I actually couldn't clock him in this. I think he's like one of the guys maybe sitting outside of the motel in Big Tuna. But John Lurie, best known as a collaborator with Jim Jarmusch, the filmmaker. He's the lead in Stranger Than Paradise and one of the leads in Down by Law, along with Tom Waits and Roberto Benigni. But he's, most importantly for me, he did this insane fishing show called Fishing with John, where he would just take a famous person out fishing and the narrator like just goes off. It gets very bizarre. The one with Dennis Hopper, I swear to God, I thought Dennis Hopper was going to kill him.
Very interesting.
Sorry, I'm reading about Jack Nance's second wife's suicide, which is fun.
Oh, yeah. That dude had a tragic life and did not have a very pleasant end.
No, he didn't.
No, what was it? He got punched in the face and then died like the next day from complications.
He was also drunk as shit when that happened too.
When it happened.
Yeah, blood alcohol level
of threw the punch from getting a manslaughter charge.
Yeah, he suffered from alcoholism for the majority of his life. But that's everything I got for housekeeping.
Well, way to end housekeeping on a fucking bummer. But
my bad.
There you go.
I was trying to end it on Fishing with John, my favorite line of which is the fishermen return to shore covered in sores and boners.
I might have to check that out.
Okay. Yeah, they're short episodes and there's like 6 of them.
All right, now we have to dive into the plot, which
oh boy
is going to be a bit of a trip. Now, we always do our best to give you the beat by beat with this, but I'm definitely going to have missed a number of things. There are weird cuts, there are reused like fade overs and stuff like that in this that just happen too much for me to have noted and finished with anything under than 8 explicit hours spent trying to record all of it. So
yeah, there's a lot of visual leitmotif, which is one of Lynch's hallmarks.
The audio cues too for this movie is very, very unnerving at times. It does that thing that like Eraserhead did.
Oh, where it's at specific frequencies that just make you uncomfortable.
Yes, they do that a lot in this movie, and it worked. So if you don't like those sounds, maybe skip this one. Or well, actually, no, don't skip it. Turn on the subtitles, turn the volume down. It's cool.
So I just found a weird little piece of information. Guess what movie that Siskel and Ebert reviewed on the same episode as this?
1990.
It's one of my favorite movies.
Oh God, that's so many movies.
Yeah, that pins it down not at all.
No, it's Darkman.
Oh shit! I fucking love Darkman.
They reviewed Darkman and then this. They came out on top for Darkman and very, very dour for this one.
Really?
Siskel seemed to like it. Ebert did not like this movie at all.
I kind of get it. I'm not saying that I dislike this movie. It was just a lot.
Yeah, no, I actually really liked this movie, but it's heavy. It's, at least for me, it took me probably about 6 hours to watch this movie.
Yeah, it was uncomfortable in a lot of different ways. But, David Lynch, like I said, just likes telling stories about weird little freaks running around. So we get opening credits and a title card playing over burning match heads and rolling fireballs. And then we get a shot of a ceiling while a jazzy tune sort of plays, and we get some informational text indicating they're in Cape Fear, somewhere near the border between North and South Carolina.
Ah, shit, I forgot my last piece of housekeeping. I got to shout out the music It's by Angelo Badalamenti, the composer for Twin Peaks, and also consistent collaborator with David Lynch.
Makes sense. David Lynch has a well that he returns to very often.
Yeah, the music in this is extremely reminiscent. Brain didn't want to work. Mouth didn't want to work either. Reminiscent of Twin Peaks.
Does Twin Peaks have a lot of speed metal?
It's got some speed metal. Yeah, it's got a lot of like weird, unsettling jazz too.
Not surprised. Not even a little bit.
So in walk Sailor and Lula, and their, or at least Sailor, is stopped relatively quickly by a man who says some things to him that we don't have any real context for, and then pulls a switchblade on him and tries to kill him. And then Nick Cage as Sailor beats this man to death in one of the most violent opening scenes I can recall in a film.
Is it more violent than Drive Angry?
Yeah, well, it's
more intense,
visceral,
absolutely. Yeah. That is the correct descriptor, because it's just brutal, in your face, like violence. There's no sort of like glitz or glam to it. There is a lot of blood. He bashes the guy's head against a banister like several times, and then throws him downstairs, and then continues to bash his head out on marble, and then throws him into a wall. It's yeah.
And this man's name is Bob Ray Lemon.
Bob Ray Lemon. Yeah, I didn't catch the name, even though they said it like multiple times.
It's a good name. That's all I gotta say about it.
And why this man is trying to kill him is he apparently tried to fuck his girlfriend's mother in the bathroom. That's important later.
According to Bob Ray Lemon, we'll find out later that's not exactly what happens.
And
that's what the audience knows.
And she paid him, right? She paid him cash money.
To kill Sailor Ripley, yes.
Yes.
Which is also a dope name. All of the names in this fucking rule.
So after this brutal act of what we learn later is considered manslaughter, Sailor lights up a cigarette, and Lula is looking on horrified. Not quite horrified enough because of her actions in the rest of the film. But before we continue, I want to talk about something very serious in reference to this film, and that is goods and services. They're out there hiding around every corner, and we want to draw your attention to a couple to keep an eye out for. So listen up. This is a PSA.
So how Lynch uses the frequency that makes you kind of unsettled. Our advertisers use the frequency to make you buy things.
Yep. It's called the green noise.
It's called the green note. It's like the brown note, but different.
Yes, exactly.
Instead of poop, there's money.
Yep, exactly. You poop out money. All right. So we cut to a prison. Sailor is led into a cell, and then we get the first in a number of like weird scenes sort of intercut with the story that we're seeing. There is a crystal ball, and Sailor is visible within the crystal ball, and then a hand passes over it, and the crystal goes blank again. And then we get some more informational text. It tells us that it is 22 months and 18 days later, and Sailor is making a phone call from the prison. And it's to Lula's house, but her mother answers. Lula's mother threatens to kill him if he ever tries to see Lula again, and hangs up on him. Lula witnesses her mother's side of this conversation, does not take it particularly well. And then Lula's mom chugs her martini in a way I can only describe as weirdly and very strange and off-putting. I don't even really know how to describe it. What was that?
This lady can't drink alcohol normal. It's just not physically possible for her.
No, but
every time it shows her drinking, it's weird.
Like, she might as well be leaning over the edge of the martini glass and drinking it like she's trying to cure hiccups.
Yeah, and like she's got like a double-handed grip on it, and it's bizarre. Try imagine the weirdest
You
way
know,
you could drink a martini.
I think they're trying to infantilize her a little bit because she kind of has like a little child mind thing going on in the way that she perceives the world around her.
I took it as more insidious than that. I didn't get
It's
the infantilization.
insidious in the way that she externalizes her responses to anything, but she definitely has like this childlike approach to everything where she believes that she's entitled to everything around her.
Fair, and also a childlike tendency to throw a tantrum if things don't go her way
And
explicitly.
smear her face with weird shit like children do.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
Yes, we will. So after the weird martini chugging, Lula picks up Sailor from prison. She's brought him his snakeskin jacket, and he asks if he's ever told her that the jacket represents his individuality and belief in personal freedoms.
Which is interesting, not his personal freedoms, the belief in personal freedoms. Yeah. I found that very interesting.
So he's a libertarian.
I'm not prepared to say that he fucks children.
That's probably safe. So they get in the car and speed off to a real sick.
God, I hope the New Hampshire Libertarian Party is listening to this and gets real mad about that one.
Yeah, fuck
I don't think
guys.
we talk about the age of consent enough for a libertarian to tune into this podcast.
Yeah, this isn't a Vladimir Nabokov deep dive where we're reading Lolita this week.
that would get him to tune in.
100%.
So yeah, they speed off to a sweet guitar riff and then bang to that riff as it continues. The screen fades to like a not fades. It has like a deep red filter over it, and then cuts to we see Sailor. I actually really liked this aftermath scene because Sailor is balancing a fucking radio on his feet,
yeah,
as he lays in bed.
There's a lot more of that in the deleted scenes. Like every scene where he's in a hotel room, he's balancing something on his feet. It's weird. Maybe that's something that didn't transfer from the movie or from the book to the final cut of the film.
I liked it because there's like a weird quirk, like this shit that you do when you're either by yourself or with somebody you don't care about being weird in front of. It's just some dumb shit. They didn't have a TV in the room or video games, so I get it.
Dude couldn't play Tears of the Kingdom. Needed to occupy himself.
Poor guy. Probably would have saved him a lot of heartache.
Now I'm just imagining Sailor Ripley as a fucking gamer chud. I mean, he's already halfway there to doing a Goro Majima fucking cosplay.
I would watch his Twitch channel.
Yeah, I definitely.
So Lula and Sailor have a very off-putting conversation delivered in the most casual, disinterested tones I could imagine for having a conversation like this, because Lula brings up when her mom gave her the talk when she was 15, and then Sailor says, "Didn't you tell me that your uncle raped you when you were 13?" And then Lula explains, first of all, that wasn't her real uncle. It was just an uncle moniker that they gave him, and it was her dad's business partner. And then says weirdly that her mom had no idea what happened, despite the fact that her mom in the flashback that we see walks in on the aftermath of this, in which Lula's clearly been punched in the mouth after being assaulted. So off-putting.
I'm gonna have to put a trigger warning on this episode because
we definitely
so much sexual assault in this movie.
Yeah, this is one we should definitely have a little disclaimer at the beginning of. Also, I think that's mostly to show that Lula doesn't really understand her mother, and her mother doesn't understand Lula, because it's very clear that Lula's mom, Marietta, had that dude killed real quick.
Yeah, there's a lot with it. I honestly, my read on Lula is that she had such a fucked up childhood that, whether on purpose or not, there is a fair amount of memory blockage about shit.
Yes, and naivety to the world around her, because even though her life was terrible, she was still weirdly sheltered.
Yeah, and also the way the flashbacks like work for her throughout the course of the film, it's almost like we're seeing some shit as she's remembering it.
There's
And
definitely at least one scene where that is absolutely the case.
yeah, and at the very least, in this one specifically, because it's like her flashback is her remembering it, she is explicitly excluding shit that we as the audience see. So, you know, read that how you will. But anyway, like we alluded to, Lula recounts that the rapey uncle died in a car wreck just a few months after this incident. So Sailor and Lula get ready to go dancing, and Sailor brings up if or asks Lula if she's ever wondered why her mom is trying so hard to keep them apart. Indicates that there was more to the story the night he manslaughtered that guy. And then we cut back to, hold on, did I miss cut back? No. Okay. So we cut back to the night in question, and Sailor is in a bathroom stall with Lula's mother at the club, and she berates Sailor for being involved with some kind of criminal that they reference as he worked as a driver of some sort.
Do they actually name drop Marcos Santos at this point, or is that later?
Yes, I believe it's this point.
It is this point. It is this point. Sailor tells her explicitly that she'll have to kill him to keep him away from Lula. And then we cut back to the present. Oh no, I'm sorry. I did get I did get out of order.
After I mean, the movie's told out of order. I don't think it's that big of a
Sorry, yeah, no. After the car wreck bit, Lula talks about her fears about the ozone layer being damaged and that the world's gonna burn. We get a fade over of like a conflagration of some sort.
David Lynch loves his fire.
Yeah, and she hears a creepy laugh in somewhere else in the hotel and mentions that it sounds like the Wicked Witch. This is the first of about 5 billion references to the Wizard of Oz. And
I mean, I mentioned it at the end of last episode. I didn't actually end up rewatching The Wizard of Oz, though.
And then we get a scene of Lula's mom talking to Johnny, and she's talking about hiring a hitman to kill Sailor. And then we go back to that night in Cape Fear from the beginning of the film, and Lula's mom follows Sailor into the men's room and propositions him for sex and pulls him into a stall. And then we cut back to the present, and Johnny
it's weird how she does it too. She keeps asking him, "Do you want to fuck Lula's mom?"
Yeah, her another point about her character is that essentially all of her character is wrapped up in Lula, being Lula's mom. And in my notes, I only reference her as Lula's mom. I can't recall how often her actual name is used in the film. I think the
only person who actually refers to her as Marietta is probably Marcos Santos and Johnny Farragut.
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain those are the only two that talk to her by name and not just refer to her as Lula's mama.
Maybe Mr. Reindeer too?
Maybe. I'm not 100% sure on that.
She never interacts with Mr. Reindeer.
Oh, yeah, that's secondhand through Marcos Santos.
Yeah. Okay. There's so many fucking people in this movie.
Now we're back to the second cutback to Cape Fear.
Oh, fuck, I forgot another housekeeping. Isabella Rossellini's in this movie. All right, Blue Velvet, that's it. Too many people, you say. You are correct.
So we get the conclusion of the bathroom stall scene, and back in the present, Sailor says he's thinking about breaking parole and running away to California with Lula. She seems down for this idea, and they get ready to go out dancing. We get a great unhinged Nick Cage karate punch and Laura Dern like frantically stomping on the bed.
Because they're gonna go see Power Mad, the thrash metal band.
There you go, which is the scene that immediately follows. Chaotic strobe lights, dance scene. And this is where I noticed that Nick Cage's Sailor dances in this film like Mac from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It is not dancing so much as it is a series of karate moves. It's just roundhouse kicks.
I would have just loved to see him
untrained karate moves.
Yes.
Yeah. I would have just loved to see him start crowd killing and head walking and shit.
Yeah.
It's
some sick mosh moves.
Let this man loose at a hardcore show.
Yeah. I'm not
gonna lie. No, because that would go badly. The closest comparison is 100% Mac from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It is that level. It's like an absurd belief that they know karate, they do not know karate, and they also think that karate is dancing. That is the way it goes.
Well, yeah, but also Nick Cage in this is very flexible, something Mac is 100% not.
That's true. And later he pulls off a move that Mac could never with a front flip out of a vehicle. We'll get there when we get there.
Well, I mean, just the kicks, just the straight kicks over his head. Mac could only dream of being able to do that.
I got confused for half a second about that front flip out of the car, because that definitely happens in Shin Kamen Rider, which I saw last night.
Nice. So during Sailor's karate expose, another man tries to dance with Lula. The song that the band's playing ends. I kind of love the shit out of this scene. And
it's very good.
Yeah.
This band were considered posers for this scene because they played Elvis music.
And so, Sailor takes some offense to this and insists that the man apologize to Lula. The man instead insults Sailor's snakeskin jacket, which is a symbol of his individuality and his belief in personal freedom. So he punches the dude and then picks him up and makes him apologize to Lula before he goes away. And then he calls for the microphone, which the band just throws to him, and he starts to sing to her.
But the first thing he says is like, all right, guys, I know you know this one. And they all just start at the same time. Like, why would a speed metal band know some Elvis?
I don't know, but it rules.
Yeah, it's absurd. A very, very odd scene. After this, they go back to their hotel room and have more sex. Lula asks why Sailor didn't sing Love Me Tender to her, because she knows that's his favorite song. And Sailor says he told her already. He was only going to sing that to his wife.
He tells her in a deleted scene. That's why he says already.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
After, Lula talks again about a wicked witch, and then they have a brief conversation about when they started smoking, where we learn that basically neither of them had a reasonable childhood in any way, shape, or form. Although I did love the way Sailor's character says, I didn't have proper parental guidance. I know that because my public defender kept bringing it up every time in court.
And he's also very self-aware that like the smoking will kill him.
Yeah, well,
I think he said when his father died of lung cancer from smoking. Like he literally says those words as he's inhaling a cigarette.
Yes. And he says like his whole family died of either like smoking or alcohol complications.
Sounds like a rad family.
They know how to party.
Yeah. Here for a good time, not a long time. And then Lula mentions that Sailor reminds her of her dad, who apparently died after pouring kerosene all over himself and lighting a match. And that happened a year before Lula met Sailor. We cut to a scene of Johnny, who calls Lula's mom and tells her that he hasn't found Lula yet. At some point, I can't remember if it's in the prior scene with Johnny and Lula's mom, but she directs him to go look in New Orleans, because Lula was always talking about New Orleans.
Now, was this addressed? Was he like Lula's stepdad?
No,
because I kind of okay. I like got those vibes kind of that there was like not between Lula and him, but between him and Lula's mom. That there was
Lula's mom definitely either is dating him or had dated him in the past, but I don't think it was formalized to the point of stepdaddery.
Gotcha.
No. That's in fact, I don't even think that it was formalized to the point of them dating. I got the impression
that they was just fucking.
Well, that Johnny was one of Lula's mom's boyfriends. Basically.
Yeah, but along with Marco Santos.
That's how
he was one of the Santas.
Yes, he's one of the Santas.
So, Lula and Sailor are back on the road at this point, breaking Sailor's parole. Lula's mom is talking to a man about shooting Sailor dead. The guy seems creepy as fuck. This is Santos. Santos insists that he'll do it just so long as he gets to kill Johnny as well. Lula's mother is not really into this idea, demands that he not kill Johnny, but Santos says he will kill Sailor.
So this has one of my favorite line reads in the entire movie, because it opens up with him saying, "You want me to shoot him in the brains with a gun?" It's excellent. It's David Lynch directing as like perfectly as I can imagine.
But then doesn't he give this whole spiel about how he doesn't shoot people in the front of the head, only in the back of the head?
Only in the back of the head.
Well, he says it's the best method is to shoot him in the back of the head so the bullet comes out the bridge of their nose.
And he also says that he's gonna kill Johnny Farragut. He's in a killing mood.
Yeah. And then after this, Santos calls Mr. Reindeer, who in a movie filled with weird little creeps, somehow with very limited screen time gave me the most creeps.
Dude gives off eyes wide shut energy.
It's absurd, but Santos and Mr. Reindeer have a very cryptic conversation about solving problems. And by the way this works is like we get the shot of him and he's Mr. Reindeer, and he's like sitting, and as it cuts back and forth, we get a wider and wider view of Mr. Reindeer's settings. He is sitting on a toilet, presumably shitting, while a young lady just dances topless in front of him.
It was real good.
It was real bizarre.
Good.
So before we continue, here's more ads that I want you to keep an eye out for. Avoid these. Very dangerous. It's important that you know about them.
You got to avoid the Noid, especially if they're advertising the Dominoes.
Domino's dropped the Noid back in the 90s.
He's still around. He's still around. He's still just trying to steal your pizza.
He's just trying to ruin your pizza. He creates potholes to make it more than 30-minute delivery.
I hope they make another video game with him in it.
Me too.
There you go. I hope that was an ad for...
The Noid just tried to steal my pizza.
I was going to say, I hope that was an ad for
he was too fast.
For a brand new video game that is just a not even veiled marketing attempt, like
Chex Quest or
no, Chex Quest was fucking awesome. So was the 7-Up game.
I was gonna say the 7-Up game does whip ass.
Also rules.
What was it was the Cool Spot, right?
Cool Spot, yeah.
I rented the shit out of that game from not Blockbuster, not even West Coast Video, my friends.
Vortex Video?
From a place in called LA Video.
I think I had to go there once or twice because neither Blockbuster nor Hollywood nor Vortex Video had something I was looking for.
Oh man, remember video? Oh man, I miss video stores.
I miss non-corporate video stores. Blockbuster was fine and dandy and all, so is Hollywood Video, but you wouldn't find the weird shit in there.
Nah, you had to go to like for that shit.
Yeah, the one that is where like that is now when it was just a strip mall with hops. That was a good video store.
We are doxing ourselves hard right now.
I am gonna bleep so much of this segment.
So
man, this segment would be so much better without any bleeping.
Yeah. So as Mr. Reindeer requested, an envelope and $2 silver drop through his mail slot. To clarify, in the cryptic conversation about problems, Santos indicates that he has 2 of them, and Mr. Reindeer's instructions are to deposit $2 silver, as well as the particulars about these problems.
Which implies to me this is set in the John Wick universe.
That's the thing. This is like you don't have to wonder what a David Lynch John Wick movie would look like because Wild at Heart.
Yes.
The shit that you love about John Wick, where it's like you're willing to suspend your disbelief that there is this whole weird separate economy of super assassins that primarily seem to just target each other as opposed to doing any real jobs, and they have their own special currency and shit that's only useful in their world.
Yeah, just a giant bobons just parading around.
Yeah, this movie is like, what if fuck all that? We're not going to explain any of this to you. Killing a man costs $1 silver.
Yep.
So like $17. Well, no, wait a second. A silver dollar is like $8 in today's currency.
It's $1 in the 90s.
Shit, really?
They're still making
I have like a whole
silver
fucking
dollars
sock
back then.
full of those.
Yeah,
they're not worth $8.
Yeah, they're like $8 because of the silver content.
They're not $8 from the silver content. They're worth more than $1, but there is not enough silver in those silver dollars.
Yeah, no, but like, yeah, you're probably right. The silver dollars, a lot of them are some of them are 40% silver, and other ones are shit, 70%. I used to know this shit. Like pre-pandemic, I was an idiot who liked collecting silver because it was just fun. And I used to know this shit. It's like 90% silver and like 40% silver or something.
You're one of those coin guys?
I was a coin guy.
Just tell me you never invested in the Iraqi dinar, at least.
No, I never did that.
Okay, good. That's fine. Burying precious metals in your yard, I can understand to an extent.
I mean, just a little bit. And then I stopped and I was just like, wait a minute. If everything collapses, what says silver is worth anything? It's a worthless metal. It's just shiny.
Yep, there you go.
I can't find the price for actual silver dollars, just silver by like weight. So I'm gonna stop looking.
I'll check it out. Let me do it myself. Because I have a few websites that tell me that shit.
Because I'm curious. I need to know if I have like a couple $100 in a sock somewhere in my house.
I'm sorry I missed that period of Rich's life, because I would have advised him to go with the 3 G's of investing, which is gold, guns, and guitars. Those are 3 commodities that tend to just appreciate in value.
I mean, I have my guitars right over there.
Yeah, I was going to say, also, by the way, this is not investing advice. Everybody listening to this show definitely has debt. Pay that down first. That's one of the first rules of finance. Anyway.
Yeah, no. I will give you 10 stocks to invest in right now if you give me $50.
No, I won't.
That's the trick. So, Mr. Reindeer calls the silhouette of a woman, the disturbing silhouette of a woman, and indicates he's giving one of the silver dollars to her, the silver dollar representing a kill contract of some sort. And then he makes another phone call to somebody that we don't see. We just see the outside of a house. It's relatively distinctive. And it comes up later. The woman does ask who's getting the second silver dollar. And I can't remember if Mr. Reindeer indicates that he has 2 that he has to distribute, or if she just knew. I'm not sure. And with Lynch, it could have gone either way.
Yeah.
So yeah, pick your favorite one there. So Lula and Sailor arrive in New Orleans, more hotel room fucking. I'm not going to lie. This movie easily supplants Zandali as one of the more pornographic entries in our list.
I mean, it definitely has the highest density of nudity.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, probably.
I just found a President Trump 1-ounce silver round.
Oh my God. Ugh.
An article literally just came out today about
I have to put this in the chat. It's hilarious.
All right.
You know, an article came out like just today about the Trump bucks and how a bunch of old people just got swindled out of money thinking this shit was going to be worth something, and it's not.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my God. Okay. That is very fucking
good.
funny. How do you greenlight that? How do you fucking sign off on that when you get the sample?
Well, you see, a lot of people like money.
Idea.
He looks like a melting candle on this coin, by the way. Sorry.
You like money? I can't believe it. I like money too.
So we get more Wizard of Oz references post-coitus here, and then they go out to a jazz club, which is a weird fucking scene. They're just sort of sitting there drinking, and then this old guy at the bar comes up and literally squawks at them a couple of times. The copy I was watching of this movie did not have subtitles, and I'm a little bit deaf, so I don't know if he was trying to say anything. He's
definitely saying real words. I don't remember what they were. He talks about like getting hired to chase the pigeons away at the airport, and that's the only thing that stuck out at me.
I think you just speak pigeon, because
I might just be pigeon tongued.
Yeah, every delivery, he squawks at the band, then he squawks a couple of times at Sailor and Lula, and then he just walks away. And Sailor and Lula are like, all right, I don't know what that man was talking about.
All right, so to harken back to a conversation from 5 minutes ago, the most common silver $50 today is the Walking Liberty, and it's about $13 per coin.
Oh.
I stand corrected, Rich. I will cede the point to you.
Neat. You can get a couple $100 worth of those.
If they're like real shit, like real like faded and stuff, it's like $9 to $10.
Yeah, no, these have been used for close up sleight of hand magic, all of them.
Oh, fucking hell yeah, I did that shit too.
Yeah. It's just a good size for a hand coin.
It's a very good size for a coin.
It's definitely what you want to start with before working your way down to quarters, because I used to do a 3/4 pass between hands, which it took a lot of practice. Anyway, so we're getting to one of my fucking favorite weird pieces of this film. Johnny's still on the road trying to find Sailor and Lula, and Lula's mom calls Santos to tell her she's having second thoughts about these contracts that have been put out, and Santos tells her there's no going back. So this information upsets Lula's mother, and she starts smearing her lipstick on her wrists, like reminiscent to like cutting your wrists. The imagery there is kind of undeniable, but it takes a turn that I did not expect.
Well, she mentions lipstick a lot in it. Like, there's the one scene with what's his name, Johnny, I believe.
Yeah, no tongue.
Where no tongue because of my lipstick. Yeah. There's one scene where she's freaking out and she's like just screaming, "Where's my lipstick? I need my lipstick."
You know what's funny? Now that you mention that, I think there is a very poignant bit of symbolism in a scene I will get to. I'll bring it up then.
All right.
That I did not catch on my first watch. So thank you for saying that.
No problem. That's what I do.
So next we have Mr. Reindeer at some weird dinner. Oh, also, again, I want to paint the picture of this particular weird freak a little bit better. When he makes the calls to assign the silver dollars, he is attended to by two topless women just sitting behind him as he dials the numbers and shit.
Who are just talking shit on each other.
I'm curious if this is a reference to Alejandro Jodorowsky's Holy Mountain, where the alchemist is just flanked by topless women.
Maybe. I don't know where this guy is getting any money from. All of his staging areas and stuff are relatively opulent in like an old-timey fashion, even for 1990. But he's doling out contracts that cost a fucking dollar. I don't get it.
Maybe he's trafficking in spiritual energy, not real currency.
There you go.
That would be some David Lynch shit.
So, upon your deathbed, you will receive total consciousness.
So I got that going for me, which is nice.
So Mr. Reindeer is at a weird dinner. Like, it starts off with this lady at like the head of a table being like, look, you're here to be company for Mr. Reindeer. It's not just like being pretty and stuff. You got to do this, that, and the other. It's bizarre. And it's all women and Mr. Reindeer at this table. And then this woman with a cane walks in.
That old lady's in Twin Peaks too.
There you go.
She's also Happy Gilmore's grandma.
There you go. So the lady with the cane is clearly the silhouette who accepted one of the contracts, and she has a posse with her, two gentlemen. And yeah, also the whole thing, again, all of this is just descriptive. That's never addressed in the film. She has like her legs are clearly different lengths, and she has a gigantic like platform boot on the one, and she walks with a walking cane. But not even like it's one of those canes with like that 4-prong base on it.
Yeah, that you see like 80-year-old women have four tennis balls attached to the bottom.
Yeah, and I mention it specifically because it's such an obvious conscious choice by Lynch or the prop people to make, because there isn't a lot of like cool or slick imagery attached to this person. She seems fucking crazy in appearance and attitude. So Mr. Reindeer gives one of the men with her an envelope saying he's to show the contents just before the deed. Again, all very cryptic and veiled. And then the man leaves with the woman with the cane. Elsewhere, a lounge act is playing and Lula and Sailor are drinking. Sailor is telling a story about a time when he was with another woman, like sexually, and this gets Lula all hot and bothered. I think her quote is literally hotter than Georgia asphalt.
Yeah. This is also one of the sequences that had some cuts to it. They just have like flashbacks to Nick Cage macking on that honey. No actual sex scene or anything, but like him talking to the girl he's referring to. That's the flashback that they cut out of the final cut.
Weird, because in the original, there did not seem to be a lot of room for talking in that particular engagement.
Yeah.
So they go back to the hotel room, and you guessed it, they fuck again. They start they start engaging in a little bit of pillow talk afterwards, and we cut back to Lula's mom, who's now smearing lipstick all over her face,
which I kind of took as another Wizard of Oz reference.
It's 100% a Wizard of Oz reference.
It's the Wicked Witch of the West is green, she's red, same fucking thing.
it's so funny because I know this is not it, but the thing that went through my head when I saw it, I was like, oh, definitely another Wizard of Oz reference. And then then a part of my brain was just like, and maybe a Hulk reference. And I was like, no, it's not. David Lynch has
Definitely
never
a Hulk reference.
Yeah, Evil Hulk.
read the Hulk.
David Hulk.
Exactly. Because it's red lipstick. It's clearly supposed to be like a diametric callback to the green-faced Wicked Witch of the West.
Yeah.
But it's red lipstick, so she's all red. So I was like,
also,
Hulk?
This is 1990. Red Hulk doesn't premiere until like the early 2000s.
There you go. Thank you.
You're welcome. I was going to make a joke about how David Lynch fucks real heavy with the Peter David era Hulk issues, but I think that might have been a bit too niche.
I'm glad it landed in this circle at least. Everybody else listening is like, what the fuck are they talking about? So back in the pillow talk. Also, this is another running theme. Almost every time they have a conversation after sex, it's the most fucked up thing you've ever heard in almost every single instance. Now that I'm thinking about it, you guys correct me if I'm wrong. Is that like
no, that sounds correct.
Yeah, no, that tracks.
Yeah, every conversation they have afterwards is just messed up in some fashion or the other. Although I will say this one's a pretty good story. Lula is talking about a cousin of hers, cousin Dell, who's super weird. He always wanted it to be Christmas, dressed up like Santa constantly. I honestly had a little bit of trouble following this just because of how insane all of the things being said were.
Yeah, but that one shot of him dressed up like Santa does add this to my Christmas watching list. I'll tell you that much.
That's fair. It counts.
It
You
counts.
gotta count it.
It's got a Santa. It counts.
And the cousin, on top of always wanting it to be Christmas, was convinced that aliens were following him around and making him do stuff. Apparently some other relative eventually told him, he's like, you know, one of these days you're gonna realize that you were the alien all along. He has some weird phobia regarding like rubber gloves that he seems to keep finding on himself. There's a weird scene where he's pinning a rubber glove to the floor
with the yardstick.
Like
yeah,
handle, or yeah, there you go.
That scene is fucking bizarre.
And then,
I love it.
Then he started losing it more, and he would stay up all night making sandwiches. Although the scene for this is fucking hilarious because Crispin Glover is standing in front of a counter that is covered with like diced sandwiches, not like a million assembled sandwiches, but like diced sandwiches, cut into tiny little pieces.
I don't even think they were cut. I think she says she squeezed them in his hands specifically because they look like really soft white bread that just a child squeezed too hard and the parts came out.
And Ryan, one of your favorite bits in it, like his mom comes in and is like, "What are you doing?" He's like,
"Making my lunch." Might be my favorite part of the whole movie, actually.
This whole story just is on the steepest downhill slope I've ever seen. Because after the sandwich scene, there's a scene with his mom like picking up his underwear and Lula's voiceover going at like, and one day his mom found cockroaches in his underwear, and they hold up a pair of tighty whities that is just glued with all of the roaches you could possibly imagine. It's just covered.
And then the mom's to him standing on the corner, just moving like he's got roaches in his pants.
No, but the mom isn't grossed out. She's like disappointed. Like that's the face she's putting on, not like ugh, like she's
worse.
Just like again.
Like Lynch comes up with the most fucked up thing you could possibly imagine, and then directs all of the actors to act in the most unsettling way to this information. And
I think he thinks
visuals.
Bugs are that fucked up. I think he thinks bugs are beautiful because I know he had like a whole line of paintings he did where he would like paint a face with honey on an apple and leave it out in his yard so the ants would eat the face part out.
Well, that makes this next line even more disturbing because Lula explains how one time her mom walked in, or her mom, Dell's mom walked into him putting the biggest cockroach you've ever seen on his anus.
Yeah, so cool.
No, it's not cool. I'm going on the record. Not cool, cousin Dale. And then one day he just disappeared. That's it. That's the end. That's the end of the cousin story. I was unhappy at this point in the film. I'm just like, why are you doing this to me?
I was so pleased because I watched this in a room with like 4 other people, and they were uncomfortable, and I was just having a good time.
Putting cockroaches on yourself.
Yeah. So Johnny, who honestly might be my favorite character in the film.
I mean, Harry Dean Stanton always is just the most likable dude on screen.
He might be the only sincere character in the film. Like, not a bit, not a shtick. He's playing the straight man in a world of indescribable monsters, basically.
Yeah, until he, runs into the fucking McPoyles of this story.
Son of a bitch.
That makes more sense if you've seen the deleted scene, which I couldn't fucking find on that Blu-ray that I have.
Well, you'll have to describe it because there's a lot of things that I thought were going to happen. It.
I just know what happens in it because it was the reason a bunch of people walked out of the test screening.
Well, they have to tell us about
270 people, according to David Lynch, walked out because of this out of a 400.
David Lynch would have fucking counted them too. Not rounding off that number, exactly 270 people walked out. So Johnny's in his hotel room and he's watching a nature channel, and it's a bunch of hyenas devouring the corpse of something. And I love the bit, like the hyenas are yipping and he starts barking in the same fashion when the phone rings, and it's Lula's mom. And Lula's mom is now completely painted with lipstick. She is red. Very red, angry red. And she tells him that she did something bad. And he's like, well, what? And she's like, I'm not telling you on the phone. I'm going to come there. And he's like, you can't do this. If I did this, you'd freak out. And she's like, I'm not saying it on the phone. Stay where you are, and I'm coming to you. He cautions her that Lula and Sailor have already taken off. He's supposed to get back on the road to continue following them. And she says, nope, wait for me. I'm flying in, and just stay put. After she gets off the phone, she throws up relatively violently, and the camera pans down and we see she's wearing those like curly tip pointed toe shoes, like a witch. Not subtle at this point. And I don't know if there is a good break point.
Yeah, we should probably cut it though for this episode.
I think we have to throw in the towel at this point and try our best to wrap this
sticky
up.
Towel.
Yep. In the next episode. If you are horrified, disgusted, but maybe a little aroused, tune in next week for when we bring this rousing tale to the confusing conclusion. In the meantime, of course, if you don't get enough of us in your weekly listenings, you can follow us on social media. We are on Twitter at cagefight_pod. I've been hearing great things about a Patreon we have. Rich, what's the directions to get to that?
Patreon.com/NickCageFight. $3 a month gets you every single episode without ads. Every episode is up. I spent the night like 3 nights ago uploading goddamn everything.
Strong. I actually want to do a shout out. Dude I work with, Chef Brian, has been telling everyone to listen to this podcast. So hell yeah.
Hell yeah, Chef
Thanks,
Brian.
bud.
Friend of the pod. Chef.
Friend of the pod.
Yeah, thanks, Chef.
And I am actively trying to get our Twitter banned because
that's so cool.
Because it's Twitter. Who cares at this point? It's Facebook, but worse somehow. Like we've come full circle that Facebook is the cool thing again.
We gotta get that.
Uncles have always been cool.
We gotta get that Blue Sky invite or something like that.
I tried. Well, you know what? The fact that we were denied, it goes back to one of my favorite
Groucho Marx quote.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've clearly said it to you guys before and probably on the pod. I don't care to be a member of any club that would have somebody like me as a member. All right. Yeah, that's going to do it for us this time. Thanks as always for tuning in. And always remember, listeners, we appreciate you.